Alright, good afternoon everyone. Hopefully you guys are all doing well. Setting up for OSUT day 3. Just waiting on the PV1s to get loaded in here. Another fun-filled day of OSUT. Alright, looks like we're just waiting on one of them. There he is. Alright, got everybody here. See, we got 3 of you that came back, so only 1 of you bitched out. Congratulations. So we're going to get going with day 3. As far as what we got on the agenda today, firstly, we're going to be heading out to the vehicle PID range. Teach you guys how to differentiate between some of the different vehicles that you will come across out in the field. Now, we are not going to show you every single iteration of vehicles that you could come up against, but we'll be able to give you a pretty good idea. We'll also tell you what you can and cannot engage those vehicles with. We will then move on to how to mount and dismount the different airframes that we use for air assault. As we are an air assault unit, you will be riding in Blackhawks and Chinooks, and there is procedure to mounting and dismounting those 2 airframes. After we are done with that, we will then move on to mounted operations, how to work in a convoy with our gun trucks, what you do and what you don't do with those vehicles. Lastly, once we are finished with that, we will then move out to the MOUT course. MOUT stands for Military Operations on Urban Terrain. I just want to teach you how to move through a town, how to breach and clear a building, and so on. Does anybody have any questions before we get started? Outstanding. What we're going to do first, as I said, we're going to head out to Vehicle PID course. Now, you're not going to need any gear for this. It's all going to be lecture out there on the course. So we're going to head out there, take care of the first few things, and then before we head out to the MOUT course, we'll come back here. You'll go see the supply sergeant, get geared up, and then we'll head back out to the field. So follow me. All right, yeah, again, hello everyone. 4 a.m. for you, Striker? Jesus Christ. A little early. Systems down. Well, no, it's just because I have my earplugs in. Force of habit. Alright, you guys are going to approach this 3rd flagpole. Use scroll wheel where you see vehicle ID. Select that and teleport out there. Guess I could take my earplugs out. Alright, stand by. That damn fucking shit. Alright, back behind you guys, there's a blue flag. Go to it, teleport to Alpha. Alright, follow me. Alright, first vehicle we're going to cover here on my right. This is the BTR. Now, there are 3 main iterations of the BTR in this format. There's the BTR 60, 70, and 80. However, for us, there's no real difference in between the 3. The armament is a little bit different, ranging from heavy machine guns to a small caliber cannon, but not a huge difference for us. Now, as far as the BTR is concerned, it is an APC, an armored personnel carrier, so it does carry troops inside of it. Troops can also ride on the top of it. However, it's pretty goddamn stupid to do that if they're within engagement range of us. Now, this vehicle is also amphibious, meaning it can cross bodies of water. It is very slow when doing so, but it can do it. Now, this being a wheeled vehicle, it is very quick, pretty maneuverable, but very goddamn quick. Now, when it comes to engaging a BTR, as this is light armor, there's more weapon systems that we can engage this with. Now, as far as what we carry as basic infantry, we can engage this with an AT4 or even a LAW. Now, a LAW, it's obviously not as powerful as the AT4. We went over that on day one. However, the LAW can still disable and potentially destroy a BTR depending upon the range and where you hit it. AT4 is almost a guaranteed kill no matter where you hit a BTR. This thing is like paper mache to an AT4. Now, when it comes to where you want to hit it, preferably you want to hit it down in the belly armor, down in between the tires, in the back door, or in the top plate. Top plate's always going to be the best. So if you can get an elevated shot from up above it somewhere, that's going to be your best bet. Even with the AT4, better safe than sorry, hit it in the top plate if you can. When it comes to the LAW, you always want to hit it in those soft spots. Never try and hit it in the nose with a LAW. There's a good chance it's not going to do anything to it. Now, there is also smaller weapon systems that we can engage this with. Reason being, this is, again, a wheeled vehicle. So, saw gunners can hit this thing with their M249. They can hit the tires and take out the tires. However, keep in mind, it takes about 100 rounds from the saw to take out one tire. So that's an absolute oh shit emergency situation if you have to engage one of these with a saw. We can also engage it with the M320 or the 203s, so the 40 millimeters. We can hit this with HEDP, high explosive dual purpose grenades. That will take out the tires and disable the vehicle. Now, that does not mean that the vehicle is no longer a threat. Just because you disable it doesn't mean that gun is no longer going to work. Okay? It just means it's not going to be able to move around because it's lost its tires. But the gunner can still stay in that turret and still engage us. Lastly, when it comes to the smaller weapon systems, weapon squad carrying the M240 Bravo. 240 gunners carry a limited amount of armor-piercing ammo. That armor-piercing ammo can punch right through the armor on this thing and kill the crew and the occupants inside. So don't be surprised if you do see a 240 engage in a BTR. They can punch through the armor. 240 is the only rifle that can do that. 249 does not have armor-piercing ammo. Don't try it. Lastly, with the weapon squads, the shoulder fire weapon systems, the Maws can take one of these out, absolutely no problem. The Javelin will not be used on one. Javelin missile is a total waste on a BTR. Javelin missiles are made for heavy armor, not a tiny little BTR that can be taken out with a grenade launcher. Alright, any questions on the BTR? Alright, let's move on. Alright, next vehicle is also a BTR. However, the reason that this one is handled separately, this is a BTR 80A or 80 Alpha. This is separate because it has a completely different weapon system. That big ass barrel that you see sticking out the top there, that is a 30 millimeter autocannon. Much, much more dangerous than the heavy machine guns in a BTR 1670. So this vehicle is covered completely separately. Now, when it comes to what this vehicle is capable of, it's all the same. It's an APC, it's amphibious, very quick, semi-maneuverable. However, that weapon system makes it a much, much larger threat. Now, all the same weapon systems can engage this thing, However, understand that because of that autocannon, should you start engaging one of these with a thumper or with a saw, something like that, if you catch this thing's attention, it is not going to turn out well for you. Now, as we went over on day 2, you always engage the biggest threat first. So if there was a BTR 80A and a BTR 60, both within engagement range, you're going to hit the 80A first, because that is the bigger threat. Now when it comes to calling out these vehicles, identifying them on the radio, BTR 60, 70, and 80, those it doesn't really matter. You can just simply call it as a BTR. That's perfectly fine. However, this one, because it is so much larger of a threat, you need to make sure you identify it as a BTR 80 Alpha or just simply an autocannon BTR. Just so that we know, hey, that's not just some normal BTR. That thing's got a big fucking gun on it. Alright, everybody tracking on that? Alright, let's move on. Alright, next vehicle we're going to go over is the BRDM. Now the BRDM is essentially an armored car. Okay, this is not an armored personnel carrier, it's not an infantry fighting vehicle, nothing like that. It's just an armored car. So this is kind of the definition of light armor. It has a lot of the same characteristics as a BTR. It can carry a couple of troops inside of it. Mainly, though, the characteristics that are shared are the weapon systems that can engage it. Okay, you can engage this with everything that we went over with the BTR, but especially the law. Okay, the law is made for vehicles like this. This is what it is best used for. That being said, what is the biggest difference you guys notice between a BRDM and a BTR?
Road wheels for Sergeant.
Well, you're not wrong. How many of them are there?
4 versus 8.
There you go. Now this thing actually does have 8 wheels. If you look down in the center, in between the front and rear large tires, there's 2 more guide wheels down there. But essentially, this thing has 4 tires. BTR has 8. Easiest way to differentiate the two. Despite, you know, the obvious difference of the profile and length of this thing being a lot smaller. BTR has 8 tires, BRDM has 4. Right? Now the reason that's important is you never want to misidentify a vehicle. Because again, you want to engage the biggest threat first. Now which one do you guys think is a bigger threat? A BRDM or a BTR 70?
BTR 7.
Alright, why do you think the BTR 70 is a bigger threat?
Better armor, can carry more troops.
Exactly. Right, that BTR's got better armor in it. It could also have up to a squad of infantry in the back of it. BRDM has less armor, can carry less troops. So it's less of a threat. It can also be very easily engaged by a law, which not many vehicles can. Okay, so that's the kind of things you need to keep in mind. And when you're identifying these vehicles, you need to make goddamn sure you get it right. All right, any questions on the BRDM?
No for start.
No for start.
All right, let's move on. The next one we're going to cover, the one on my right first. Right. Now this vehicle on my right is a BMP-1. BMP-1 is classified as an IFV, an infantry fighting vehicle. Now much like the BTR, it can carry troops inside of it. It is also amphibious. However, unlike the BTR, it has tracks instead of wheels. Okay, this is not a wheeled vehicle, it is tracked. So it is not as fast, however, it is much more maneuverable. Now this also has a, I believe it is a 75mm cannon on it. Now that cannon is primarily used for anti-armor. However, they can load HE, high explosive, to use on infantry. It is also outfitted with that big white rocket you see up there. That rocket is an unguided rocket. Think of it like a bottle rocket, right? They're just going to point it the way they want it to go and hope for the best. It's not necessarily inaccurate, though, and it's a big goddamn rocket. So it's incredibly dangerous to us, as well as armor assets and so on. Now, the BMP-1 is what we consider medium armor. Okay, so there's less weapon systems that you can engage it with. Obviously, with it not being wheeled, we can't engage it with the saw, because the saw is used to take out tires. This thing doesn't have any, so the saw won't engage one of these. Same goes with the thumper. Alright, 320s and 203s are used to take out tires. This thing doesn't have any, so we won't engage it with 40 mics. This having heavier armor than the BTR, the 240s won't engage it, because 240s cannot punch through the armor on this thing, even with the APR. The Law can hit one of these and disable it. However, it's almost guaranteed not to destroy it, unless you're getting a very close shot into one of the weak points. Weak points, again, being the same as the BTR, down in the belly armor, down in the tracks, in the rear, or especially in the top plate, right behind the turret. That's your best chance with a Law, is to hit it in the top plate right behind the turret. AT4 can engage and kill one of these things pretty easily, with the exception to hitting it right in the nose. This thing does have very sloped armor on it. It's designed to bounce rounds. Alright, so even with the AT4, you need to make sure you're taking a shot in the correct position. As far as the weapon systems that weapon squads carry, Maws will take one of these out no problem. Same thing with a Javelin. However, again, much like the BTR, it's going to be kind of rare that a Javelin is used on a BMP-1 because it's not a massive threat. However, that brings us to the next vehicle on my left. That is a BMP-2. BMP-2 has all the same characteristics as the BMP-1, with exception to the weapon systems. Firstly being that autocannon. That autocannon is essentially the same exact autocannon that's on that BTR-80 Alpha. So, it's a big goddamn threat. It is also outfitted with that yellow tube up on top of it. Anybody have a guess as to what that yellow tube is?
Recoilless rifle for Sergeant.
Nope.
Seems to be some kind of guided missile or something.
There you go. That is a Conquer's ATGM, anti-tank guided missile. It's essentially like the TOW missile that NATO forces use. So they can fire that thing and guide it wherever the hell they want it. They can put that fucking missile through a window from half a click away. Actually beyond that. So it's incredibly dangerous and very fucking accurate. So those two weapon systems combined essentially make this the meaner, bigger brother to the BTR-80 Alpha. Alright, it's got heavier armor, it's tracked, it can still carry troops, but it's got the same autocannon and a guided missile on it. So this, the BMP-2, is a much bigger threat than the BMP-1. So again, just like with the BTR-80 Alpha and the other BTRs, same goes for the BMP-1 and the BMP-2. Alright, if there was both of them on the field within engagement range, you're going to hit the BMP-2 first. It's the bigger threat. Alright, any questions on the BMPs?
No for start.
No for Sergeant.
No for Sergeant.
Alright, let's move on. Alright, here we have the ZSU, or known by its nickname as the Shilka. Our Americanized nickname for it is the Zeus Cannon. It is known as the Zeus Cannon because of those 4 barrels sticking out the front. Those 4 barrels are essentially the same autocannon that is on the BTR-80 Alpha and the BMP-2. Now we stress how large of a threat the BTR-80 Alpha and the BMP-2 are. Those have 1 autocannon. This thing has fucking 4 of them. Now, the Shilka is classified as medium armor. Okay, so again, not going to hit it with any small arms. A Law may be able to disable it. AT4 should be able to destroy it. Maws will destroy it, and javelins will most definitely destroy it, and javelins will most definitely be used on it. Because as you can see, this thing can depress those 4 barrels down enough to engage infantry, even though it's primarily an AA vehicle. So this thing is a threat not only to us on the ground, but also the guys up in the air. And the simple fact is, if we don't have air support, we're in a pretty shitty situation. So these things are target priority number fucking 1. Now, one thing to note here is oftentimes you will hear guys refer to any ZSU-23 as a Zeus cannon. That's not technically correct. This is the only Zeus cannon. There are other ZSU-23s, dual guns that will be set up in the beds of trucks or even just the guns themselves mounted to the ground. Those are not Zeus cannons. However, when you hear someone say a Zeus cannon, they're generally just referring to the weapon system and not the vehicle. If you hear someone say Shilka, this is what they're talking about. Now, the Shilka has an incredibly high rate of fire because of those 4 barrels. Now, you guys don't have earplugs in, otherwise I would demonstrate that for you. However, understand that this thing can rip through 250 rounds of HE in about 15 seconds. So it will absolutely shred anything in front of it. And it's fucking terrifying to have one firing at you. Now, these things are very easily identifiable. Not only because they're extremely tall profile, because of that gigantic turret that's on it, but also up at the very top there, you guys see that white drum looking thing. Looks like a snare drum almost. That's its radar. Okay, because again, this is an AA vehicle. That radar sitting up there is the easiest way to identify one of these things. Even if the entirety of the body is behind some type of concealment, you see that white drum looking thing, you know that's a Shilka. Now the kind of brother to this vehicle that we don't have out here is known as a Tunguska. Tunguska is essentially an upgraded Shilka. Now, the Tunguska, instead of having 4 cannons, it's got 2. However, to make up for the lack of those 2 cannons, it has 8 AA missiles. Those Tunguskas, while they're not as big of a threat to us on the ground, they're a much bigger threat to air assets. So, that's our priority target. Now, the easiest way to differentiate the Tunguska from the Shilka, very simple. It's that radar up top. The Shilka's got that snare drum looking radar. The Tunguska has kind of your more traditional looking concaved radar. So it's very easy to differentiate the two. Alright, any questions on the Shilka?
No, for Sergeant.
No, First Sergeant.
Go for Sergeant.
Alright, let's move on. Now very quickly, to go over here, I'm not going to go into great detail with these. These are a couple more of the BMPs. There are multiple different variations of the BMPs that you will see, including the one here with the Conkers on it and a large AT cannon. However, understand that the weapon systems you engage them with are all the same. Alright, let's keep moving. Alright, now this vehicle is a T-72. More simply put, it's a main battle tank, or simply an MBT. For us on the ground, there is no difference between any of them. You will see T-72s, T-80s, T-90s, and there's multiple variations of each one of those. However, again, for us on the ground, none of it means anything, because we don't fucking deal with these unless we absolutely have to. Now, when it comes to engaging an MBT, Laws and AT4s aren't going to do dick. An AT4 can potentially knock out its tracks if you hit it close enough, or possibly disable the engine if you can get real close to it and get an elevated shot from above and hit it right behind the turret. But other than that, AT4 isn't going to do anything to it. Laws is a waste of time. We leave these to weapon squads and air assets. That is it. Weapon squads will take one of these out with a Maus. Preferably, though, they will use a Javelin, because a Javelin's going to be a one-shot kill, almost guaranteed. Otherwise, air assets will take it out with their AT missiles. But again, for us on the ground, we don't mess with them unless we absolutely have to. Alright, any questions on the MBTs?
No, for sure.
No, for certain.
Alright, let's move on. Hey, Adaran. Happy New Year, bud. And sorry about that, guys. All the audio and stuff should be squared away now. Alright. Next vehicles we're going to cover. On my left is a Ural. On my right is a GAZ. Very simply, these are troop transports. Alright, there's nothing special about them. They're a 1 ton to 2 ton truck with a fucking canvas top and some benches in the back. That's it. They have no armor. This is the definition of a soft target. Alright, you can engage these with anything and everything. That being said, if you are set up in, say, a blocking position, alright, to where you're, or in an ambush situation where you're waiting on a convoy to roll in, and you see a bunch of these troop transports. If you see machine gunners start engaging one of these things, save your ammo, alright? Wait for guys to start jumping out and clean up the scraps. But especially like 240 gunners, these things are like fucking Christmas for them. Okay, because they can fire into the cab and punch through the cab and right down the line of guys on the bench in the back. And they'll kill 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys with a single burst. Alright, so again, you see machine gunners start lighting these trucks up, just save your ammunition, wait for guys to try and get out of the truck and mop them up. Alright, any questions on the GAZ or Ural?
No, for sure.
No, for certain.
No, for certain.
Alright, let's move on. Alright, these two vehicles are UAZs. Now these UAZs have been converted to be gun trucks. Alright, the one on my right here is outfitted with a Dishcom. Dishcom being a 12.7mm heavy machine gun, essentially a 50 cal. Alright, it's the Soviet version of our M2. On my left has an AGS-30, a 30mm fully automatic grenade launcher. Alright, it's kind of like our Mark 19, a little bit smaller, and it is not a Mark 19. So do not at any point ever fucking call one of those out as a Mark 19. Now, these things make a very distinctive sound when they fire. It's a big thump, hence why we call grenade launchers thumpers. It does sound a lot like the Mark 19, but it is not the same. So if you see one of these engaging you or engaging other friendly forces, make sure you call it out as an AGS-30. Because if we're out there working with the gun trucks and we have a Mark 19 truck with us, and you call out that friendlies are being engaged by a Mark 19, then now we think it's blue on blue, and it's friendlies engaging friendlies. And then whoever's on that Mark 19 is going to immediately stop firing because now he feels fucking horrible that he just hit friendlies with goddamn grenades. All right, so make sure you differentiate the AGS-30 from the Mark 19. Now the other thing to keep in mind, oftentimes you'll hear guys call these out as technicals or simply techies. I mean, at least in my first-hand experience, these are not technicals. Right? A technical is a fucking taco truck with a machine gun bolted to the bed of it. These are purpose-built gun trucks. It's not a techie. But just understand that if you hear guys call out that they got a technical, this is what they're talking about. Now again, these things are soft targets, obviously no armor. You can engage these with anything and everything. Hit the gunner, hit the driver, no problem. Alright, any questions on the gun trucks?
No, for sure.
No, for certain.
Alright, let's move on. Alright, now we're going to go over some OPFOR air assets. First one being the Mi-24 Hind. Now the Hind is one of the most famous airframes in the world, mostly because of how recognizable it is. Alright, that dual bubble canopy up front is pretty fucking unique. Also the size of this airframe. Because while this is primarily an attack gunship, it can also be used as a troop transport, right? Just inside that door right behind me is a couple of benches. They can fit about a squad of infantry inside this helicopter. So if you see one of these landing, it could potentially be dropping off troops. However, that's not the biggest threat. The biggest threat is, obviously, its weapon systems. Now, it has a cannon up in the nose. However, the hind, they can fit all kinds of different weapon systems to it. Pretty much anything you can think of, they have fucking strapped to a hind at some point in time or another. Whether it be extra cannon pods, rocket pods, guided missiles, guided bombs, dumb drop bombs, fuel bombs, all kinds of crazy shit they will strap to these things. So they are a huge threat. However, for us on the ground, there's dick all we can really do about it. All right, we leave these to air assets. The only exception being javelins. Javelins can lock onto one of these, but that's an absolute last fucking resort to fire one of our $80,000 goddamn missiles at a helicopter when we have air assets up there with sidewinders that can take it out. So we try to leave these to air assets. Your best bet, find a fucking hole, hide in it, and wait for them to kill it. Alright, any questions on the hind?
No for
Go
Sergeant.
for Sergeant.
Go for start.
Alright, let's move on. Alright, here we have the Mi-8 HIP. Now this is the gunship variant. As you can see, this thing has those winglets on it. And this particular one has missile pods and cannon pods on it. Or sorry, rocket pods and cannon pods. Now, much like the hind, they strap all kinds of different crazy shit to one of these things. It also has cheek guns in the front cheek and the rear cheek on the right. Or actually, this one's reversed. Front cheek on the right, rear cheek on the left. But this is primarily a troop transport. The HIP is not primarily a gunship. However, obviously it can be turned into a gunship. Thing to keep in mind is that this thing, if it's landing, it's most definitely dropping off troops. However, when it comes to engaging one of these, again, just like with the hind, we don't really deal with them on the ground. But if they are getting ready to take off, meaning if it's still sitting on the ground and it's spooling up, then the weapon squad can hit it with the 240s. The 240s APR will punch through this thing, and you can take out the crew inside of it, or they can hit the rotors and take out the tail rotor or even the main rotor. They can do the same thing with the hind if it's spooling up, it's not in the air. Now the other thing is, if it's still sitting on the ground, getting ready to take off, we could hit it with an AT-4. We could hit it with a Law, something like that, if we're close enough. But the majority of the time, unless they're really fucking stupid, we're not going to be close enough to do anything to one of these things when they're spooling up. However, with this HIP especially, I have seen it happen where they have come in with a HIP to fast rope guys in. Now, when a helicopter is fast roping, it's stationary. There's nothing it can do. There's fucking guys hanging underneath of it. I've seen a weapon squad engage one of these things while it was fast roping guys in and took out the tail rotor and sent it into a death spin and killed everybody, including the guys that were fast roping down from it. All right, so that is something to keep in mind. You see one of these hovering, dropping off troops from fast rope or rappel or whatever, machine gunners can engage one and fucking take it out. All right, any questions on the Mi-8 HIP?
No for
No for
Sergeant.
Sergeant.
Go for
All right, move on. And we're going to skip over this one. This is also a HIP, but it's the non-gunship variant. Now we're going to move on to BLUFOR air assets. All right, these are friendly airframes. First one being the AH-64 Apache Longbow. The Apache is one of the most devastating airframes ever fucking built. However, the majority of the people don't know it because they never actually see it in action. And if they're doing their job right, you won't. Same goes for our guys. If you see the Apache, something's not right. This thing is designed to kill armor. That is what it does. Now, it is perfectly capable of engaging ground troops as well, thanks in a huge part to that 30mm cannon underneath its nose. We primarily use this, however, for recon and for dispatch of armor. Now, recon is handled via that camera right there in the nose. That camera has full thermal capabilities and can spot targets from beyond 2 kilometers. When it comes to armor, this thing will engage armor from a long fucking ways out there via the Hellfire missile. Hellfire missile, one of the greatest goddamn weapon systems man has ever invented. There is a variant of the Hellfire that is a lock-on after launch, meaning someone else can laze a target. This thing can be sitting behind a mountain somewhere 3-4 kilometers away, pop up, fire the missile out there, and while in flight, the missile will acquire that laser and guide itself into that target. We will do the exact same thing. This airframe is designed for pop-up attacks just like that. So again, if they're doing their job right, you'll never fucking see them. You'll most likely never even know they're there until you just randomly see a piece of armor explode. That was most likely the Apache killing it from 3 clicks out. Now, the call sign for the Apache is Warlord. Keep that in mind. It will be important. The call sign for the Apache is Warlord. Now, as I said, it is fitted with that 30mm cannon under the nose. It has up to 8, well actually I believe they can fit up to 16 Hellfire missiles on some of the variants. It also has the Hydra missiles, and the variant that we use has 2 AIM-9 Sidewinder missiles on the end of the winglets, which is not depicted here. But this thing does have AA capability. It can take out air assets with those Sidewinder missiles. All right, any questions on the Apache?
No,
No, for start.
All right, let's move on. All right, here we have the AH-6 Little Bird. This is the MELB variant, Mission Enhanced Little Bird. Now, Little Bird is primarily used for recon by way of that camera underneath the nose. Little Bird, much like the Apache, if they're doing their job right, you're never going to see them. You won't know they were there all fucking night. Now, the MELB kind of takes the place of the Kiowa in the partnership between an Apache and another airframe. And what I mean by that is, when the Apache was first introduced, and even up until very recently when they started retiring the Kiowa, it would work in a two airframe team, basically a hunter-killer team. All right? The Kiowa would go out and hunt a target using its camera and laser designator. It would paint the target. The Apache would come in and kill it. We kind of do the same thing with this. Little Bird is used to find and designate targets for the Apache. Now, that does not mean, however, that the Little Bird has no way of engaging targets itself. Little Bird is outfitted with FFAR rockets, as well as the GAU-19 Bravo. GAU-19 Bravo is probably my second favorite weapon ever created. GAU-19 Bravo is a 50 caliber Gatling gun, and it is absolutely fucking awesome. So, when this thing is called in for CAS, close air support, it will come in and strafe a target with rockets and machine gun fire. However, when they do so, they are incredibly vulnerable, because this airframe has no armor whatsoever. It doesn't even have fucking doors on it. So something as small as an AK-47 can take one of these things down. So when they do get called in, they're going to come in flying what's known as MO, Map of the Earth, down as low as they possibly can, preferably below the treetops if possible. They're going to come in hauling ass. They will pop up, strafe their target, and then get the fuck out of Dodge as quickly as possible. However, as I said, the majority of the time, you're never even going to know the Little Bird is out there. You won't see him, you won't hear him. Now, the call sign for the Little Bird is Lancer. All right, any questions on the Little Bird?
No, for start.
No, for start.
All right, let's move on. All right, Last airframe we're going to cover is the A-10 Thunderbolt 2. The last time you're going to hear it called the Thunderbolt 2. As you probably know, nickname for the A-10 is the Warthog, or simply the Hog. Now the reason it's called the A-10 Thunderbolt 2 is it's actually named after another tank killer. Previous tank killer was from the World War II era. That was the P-47 Thunderbolt. Now the A-10 Thunderbolt was designed first and foremost for CAS. This is the only airframe in the history of the United States military that was designed specifically for close air support of ground troops. Now because of that, it is outfitted with 2 gigantic turbofan engines, which means this is a subsonic aircraft. This thing cannot break the sound barrier. It is very slow. It also has incredibly huge flat wings. That is so that this thing can maneuver very agile at slow speeds. It also has massive fuel tanks, so it has a large loiter or a long loiter capability, meaning it can stay in the AO for a long time. It can also carry stupid amounts of weapons. The ones we use, the A-10 Charlie, is outfitted with FFAR rockets, AGM-65 Mavericks, GBUs, all kinds of different guided and unguided munitions, and that can be changed depending upon the mission and what the task force commander wants on that airframe, or up to pilot discretion. It can also carry AIM-9 Sidewinders, so it can take out air threats. And lastly, and probably most importantly, is the one thing that the A-10 is most known for, and that is that thing sticking out the nose right there. That is the GAU-8 Avenger. GAU-8 Avenger is a 30mm Gatling gun. And yes, the story is true that this airframe was built around that gun. When they started designing the A-10 back in the 70s, they knew from day one that they were going to be using the GAU-8 Avenger as its primary weapon system. And yes, this thing is that old. It first entered service in the mid-1970s. And it is still in use today, and will continue to be used up through 2020. Now, I have a special love affair for this airframe. I was woken up almost every night sleeping next to the fucking airbase where these things were stationed. So these things would basically rattle our fucking chews when they took off, and they were flying anywhere from 12 to 20 sorties a fucking day. And I will tell you from personal experience, there is nothing closer to sensory fucking overload than having an A-10 do a gun run anywhere in your vicinity. And it is hands down the most recognized sound from the United States military. And I don't just mean the gun. Everybody knows the Burt, yes. Very, very fucking famous. Enemy knows it very well. But what they fear even more so than that is the simple sound of the engines. These turbofan engines have a unique sound. There is no other airplane in the world that sounds like the A-10. When the enemy hears those turbofans, they know there's an A-10 in the air. That can be just as scary as the fucking gun itself, because they know if the thing is in the air, then it's probably going to use the gun on them. So again, A-10 is our biggest equalizer, if you will. And we do everything we possibly can as ground troops to protect them, and vice versa. You will find that the pilots in this unit, the A-10 pilots especially, take it personal when we start getting fucked up. And we take it just as personal if they get shot down. If we have an A-10 shot down, hell itself cannot stop the infantry from going to get that pilot. Now the call sign for the A-10 is Thunder. Alright, any questions on the A-10?
No, for Sergeant.
No, for Sergeant.
No, First Sergeant.
Alright, so that covers the PID for these vehicles. We're going to go over 2 more here in a second. However, I'm going to be passing you over to Sergeant Myers to take you over the identification of those vehicles as well as the mounting and dismounting of those. Sergeant Myers, take them out.
Thank you, First Sergeant. Alright, follow me.
Alright. Hopefully you guys are still doing well. Christian, we're not doing an operation per se tonight. We're doing the end of deployment games tonight. So we're going to be just kind of hanging out, having fun. Going to be doing some competitions, some shoot house competitions and races and stuff like that. Just a bunch of fun, pretty much.
14 inventory, including 2 door gunners. Also armed with 2 door mounted miniguns.
You're sick? Oh, that fucking sucks, man.
These for getting in and out of the AO.
It's that time of year.
Usually, if you look behind you, we use the Chinook more than anything because it can fit more people. However, Black Hawk can also be used at the task force discretion.
Unfortunately, I can't because I am judging the
while mounting and dismounting
the
Black Hawk,
kill
always
house.
approach it at a 90-degree angle. So if you look at the example we got in front of you, this is how you want to approach the Black
I agree, Vert. In fact, I am going to go refresh my coffee real quick. So give me just a minute here, guys. I'm going to go refresh my coffee, and I will be right back.
Back and forward quite a lot, enough so to the point where they will be able to take off your head. We also approach at a 90-degree angle because this allows the door gunner to engage towards the front of the birds while we're loading in. So if any targets present themselves while we're loading in, door gunner doesn't have to either shoot through you or shoot around you. He can engage front and back pretty easily. When boarding, the chalk will form a line, so like you see here on this example, and approach the bird crouched to avoid taking any damage from the rotors and also avoiding the wash. The chalk leader will then ask bird to gain permission to board. This is usually given by the pilot. Once permission has been given to board, you'll start loading in one at a time. If for whatever reason we are fast roping, you guys will be assigned a number. So when you get in the chalk leader here is the guy who's standing just a little bit further off from this line. He will count you in, so he'll give you numbers 1, 2, and 3. Remember your number, write it down, keep it safe, because if you've been given a number, it's very important for later on when we fast rope that you get out when your number is called. If you get out when someone else's number is called, it causes all sorts of fucking issues. And you can potentially fall out the bird. So yeah, if you get given a number, you will be fast roping. The highest ranking ground person on the chalk will be the chalk leader. Now, when we're within a platoon, this is usually assigned to the squad. Whichever squad's loading into the bird, it will be the squad leader. Because you can't fit more than a squad in here. Priorities on the guns is the fire team leaders. So within a squad, you have 2 fire team leaders. They will be required to get on the guns. If for whatever reason, this is especially important when we're in a combat environment. If for whatever reason you guys are in the bird and no one's on the guns, don't sit there shouting, "Hey, someone like squad leader!" Don't shout at the squad leader. Fires me to get on the guns. Just get on the gun yourself. If you see no one's on it, and you've kind of and no one's doing it, just get on it. This is especially important in a combat environment. At the end of the day, having someone on that gun is more important than having the right person on that gun. The chalk leader, so as you say, the gent there, that's going to be counting you guys on and off, is the last person to enter the helicopter, and will always call last man, when he or she enters the birds. Calling last man is really important because it lets the pilot know no one else needs to get on. The pilot is then free to disembark at his own discretion, usually in a combat environment. That is immediately after the last man gets in. Another important note for being in a combat environment, you do not need to ask permission to board a bird while we're extracting hot extracts wherever we are out over the wire in a combat environment. You do not need to sit there asking for permission. Just get in as quick as you can. But always obviously approach it at a 45-degree angle. The loading on and off procedures are the exact same. You just do not need to ask for permission. Just get the fuck in.
Alright, we are back.
Pull security until it's your turn to get into the bird. So what this means is if you're not immediately getting in next, keep a lookout, look around, maintain that 360, maintain your arc of fire.
Oh, that coffee is good.
Because if some ass bag in black pajamas pops around the corner with an RPG, he can very easily...
That motherfucker just stole my line.
Damage to the bird. So,
yeah, sucker.
Really important that you guys hold a 360 security. Let's go ahead and move down the line.
Fucking Myers, man, trying to bite my style.
So, in this example, what we're looking at here is once we dismount. So let me give you guys a scenario. We you guys mount up on the airstrip, you know, in a friendly environment. We move out, we land in a potentially hostile environment, and now what do you guys do? Well, the answer is you all get out the bird. You don't need to worry about getting out one at a time. You can just get out. And what you can see here is a whole squad plus your medic and your squad leader pulling 360 security around the bird. Procedures for dismounting the Black Hawk are once the pilot has called touchdown, the chalk leader, so usually your squad leader will
Learn
then
from the
call
best.
out
Well, he
each
learned from
number.
someone. I don't know
Hey, sign
about the
while
best,
building.
but
Usually in a
he
very hot
learned.
environment, you don't hear this. This normally goes to shit. But try to listen to your number so you can get out in the right time. Obviously, if we are fast roping, then you know fucking only go when your number is called. But when we hit the ground, you guys can get out. You want to take about 3 paces away from the bird, go prone, and pull security on a sector.
I actually think we might be
it's really important that you take
fast
3
roping
paces away from the
Sunday.
bird because you can see these guys are still
Not sure.
under the rotors here. They're not too far out. And that's just the way we do it. Once again, the chalk leader is the last person to exit the helicopter and calls last man to the pilot. This is even more so important when we're in a combat environment. You know, when we touch down and we dismount like this, calling last man is just as important as calling it, even if we're in a safe environment. Even more so important because what that lets the pilot know is, okay, everyone's out, I can get the fuck out of here. The more time these birds spend on the ground, the more danger they're in, the more at risk they are. Especially once the door guns are off there, there's no one else to protect.
Nice to be able to kick back and relax.
Just the pilot in there, and maybe the co-pilot. We have no more door gunners, so these things want to get off the ground as quick as fucking possible, and get back to a safe area. Any questions?
No, Sergeant.
No, Sergeant.
No, Sergeant.
Is everyone very clear about mounting and dismounting the Black Hawk now?
Yes, Sergeant.
Okay. Trying to think of anything else I can pass on to you guys. Oh yeah, when we're in front, so if we do touch back down on base after an exfil, you guys don't have to do this. You just disembark, stay crouched. Make sure you stay crouched. And just kind of get yourself away from the bird. But if we're in friendly territory, touching back down on base, you don't have to pull 360 like this. You just get off. Make sure you clear. Again, at a 45-degree angle, just clear the rotors.
Now, you guys may think it's stupid that he says that, but I've actually seen motherfuckers try and do that and set up 360 when we land at base.
Yeah, is there any, like, do we have to, sorry, break. Okay, so does it matter who takes what position in security on this?
No, it's more of a case of look at the guy next to you, look where he's looking, and then pull a different sector. It's over very quickly. We practice this constantly, but once the bird touches down and we all get off, just try and pull a sector that someone else isn't already pulling.
Yeah, streets, we're always recruiting. If you type exclamation 506 in the chat, and I'll give you a link to the website.
And then, soap in the surroundings and get a bit more situational awareness.
Roger.
But yeah, biggest tip I give you, just look at the guy next to you and just yell at you. Use squad net. Just say, hey, I'm watching northeast. Alright, let's move over back down to the Chinooks down here. Okay, this is the CH-47 Chinook. It is also call sign Phoenix, just like the Black Hawk. It is a troop and cargo transport.
How many? I don't know for sure. I'd have to look at the roster. It's
like
over 100.
Armed with 2 door-mounted miniguns.
Probably closer to like 150 or something. I don't know. I would have to look at the actual roster to know for sure. Or just ask Hammer, because that's easier than going to look at the roster myself.
At the rear to avoid being hit by the main rotors and the engine wash. So as you can see with this example here, very similar to the Black Hawk, just at a 45-degree angle. Obviously that guy in the front right there, you guessed it, is the chalk leader. When boarding, chalk will form a file.
Stand down finishes tomorrow officially, Kerr. So tomorrow will be the first day back. Well, I guess technically it ends tonight. But tomorrow will be the first night back from winter stand down. So we'll have Task Force Alpha's FTX tomorrow night.
Like I said, you'll only be given a number if we are fast roping. If we're not fast roping, don't worry about your number. Just get in one at a time. So only get in once the guy in front of you has gotten him. Only ever board the Chinooks from one side. like this example, you would never have, you know, 2 squads boarding from either side. We just don't do it. We just form one massive fucking line. Unless we are in a combat environment, we need to get out as quick as possible. Then we will split lines. The highest ranking ground person in the choke will be the choke leader. Now, in a platoon, it could potentially be the platoon sergeant doing this.
Yes, we have 3 platoons.
It can, you know,
and then the supporting assets, but the platoons aren't like 100% full.
You know, you can be a lot of different people doing it. Usually it's a squad leader doing it. But every now and again you will see the platoon sergeant do it. Fire team leaders are to get on the guns.
Yeah, we have
if they're not manned
3 platoons, mortar section, fixed wing, and rotary section.
It will be down to a squad to assign fire team leaders. So let's
and
say
Spoonie, thank you for the follow.
27 people. You usually have two squads in it, plus a few members of command. If not, just 2 squads. Now, usually a platoon will assign, say, hey, you know, yeah.
Hey, right on, Canadian.
That's my squad. You guys mount the guns, and then I'll pass it on to my guys, saying, you know, fire team leaders, we are to mount the guns. Very similar to the Black Hawk. Again, if we get on and no one's getting on the guns, and it's been, you know, a good 10 seconds and no one's got on the guns, just try and find your way. Either yell it out or try and get yourself onto the gun. Like I said previously, it's more important to have someone on that gun than have the right person on that gun. We're all capable of pulling a trigger and identifying a target. Same to the Black Hawk. The choke leader is the last person to enter the helicopter and will call last man when he or she enters the bird. In a combat environment, you do not need to ask for permission to board. And again...
Oh, thank you, Canadian. Glad you enjoy it. And Streets, thank you for the follow.
Everyone understands?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, now that winter stand down is over, we'll be back to the normal ArmA schedule. Oh yeah, if there was a fucking...
This is now disembarking.
If there was a server capable of handling an entire fucking company at once, it'd be fucking great. And we could actually go in and do operations as they should be done as a full fucking infantry company and not just a platoon.
Right side will get out. This left to right motion going front to back is how we get out of the Chinook. So it's just left to right, left to right, left to right. Always look, do not get out until the guy opposite you has gotten out, and give it, you know,
hey, Hoff.
Maybe just half a second to give him time to clear the ramp before you get out. Issue being that if we all just try to get out at the same time, people are going to start stacking up on top of each other, and eventually we're going to hit that tail rotor there, and it's going to take your head off. So yeah, really important that you do that left to right motion, front to back, and continue this all the way until everyone is disembarked. Gunners are the last people to get out, and they will be calling last man. Make sure you wait until the person in front of you has cleared the ramp before disembarking. Yep, like I said, in this situation, you could be thrown into the rotors, injuring yourself and disabling the aircraft. When disembarking the Chinook, you should push away from the helicopter.
Really, it's honestly, it's not the server that's necessarily the issue. Like, we could put, you know, the entire company on the server that we have now. Nobody's computer would be able to run it. Having that many people connected to the server, it just wouldn't happen. Yesterday's race was outstanding. The MX-5s, I started 24th because I didn't qualify, finished 6th. And then the GT3 race, I qualified pole and would have won, but my power flashed with 3 minutes left in a 70-minute race, so that was fucking great. So I ended up technically losing that one, but everybody knew I had it in the bag because I was in first and I had like 20 seconds to the next guy behind me, so... I essentially took 6th place in the MX-5 race and 1st place in the GT3 race.
In terms of the mounting and dismounting of the airframes we use, you guys will all be required to do air assault school once you complete OSUT. Air assault school goes into this in a lot more in depth.
Oh yeah, they definitely need a new engine.
You know, the proper runs of it, you will be fast roping. You'll get all that good practice in. Okay, so let's carry on moving down.
Yeah, to be able to do an actual, like, full company in a server, God, I would love it, man. Because then, like, we could be you know, actually running as company HQ and task force commanders. Like, that would be fucking outstanding, man.
The MRAP is a medium transport Vic, holds 9 people, including your gunner and your driver, 10 in total, including you. So you can fit an entire squad in one of these, including your medic, including your squad leader. There's a lot of aspects that when it comes to mounting and dismounting the MRAPs. So more specifically, the MRAPs we use are the Cougars. You can see there they do have an RPG cage around them, although it is purely aesthetic. It is not an actual real RPG cage. It will not.
Yeah, pretty much.
Before it hits the armor, it's just aesthetics, but they do have RPG cages.
Wave, my power flashed. So everything fucking shut down on me, unfortunately.
Variants, they come with the 50 cal or the Mark 19.
But I was able to get back into TeamSpeak afterwards. The race was already over, but everybody knew I
absolutely devastating.
Basically won the race.
It's personally one of my favorite weapons within the unit. And then we also have the ones with the 50 cals, which aren't as fun as the Mark 19s. They can't do as much damage, but they're also, we use them because they are useful.
No, unfortunately, I couldn't wave.
More fun, in my opinion. There's a couple of ways we can dismount these Vics, so before I kind of go more in depth into driving them, etc., we'll go on to the dismount. So when you guys load into this Vic, there's no real order you need to load into. Usually your squad leader is up in front in the commander seat where he can use the tablet. Your driver and gunner will both be on the radio net 50. 50 is our convoy net. So your driver and gunner will be on that, as well as...
Oh, nice, you're getting fiber? Hell yeah.
Usually, being a squad leader myself, I don't put myself on it. I just rely on my driver and gunner to tell me what's going on. There are times as well, so we went over this in day 1, but you guys were talking...
Yeah, I'll be doing another race tomorrow afternoon. So we'll be doing day 4 of OSUT tomorrow for these guys, and then immediately after that, I'll be going into a GT3 race at Laguna, and then later on in the evening, we'll have FTX for Task Force Alpha.
That is the only situation I could think of where you guys would actually use the speaker function on your radio.
Yes, if they pull off everything that they want to, Star Citizen will definitely be
soft dismount is all non-essential personnel
right in our wheelhouse.
In the vehicle's operation, exit the Vic. So this means everyone but the driver and the gunner, because the driver and the gunner are there.
Smart man, Bert.
You move the Vic, and also the gunner needs to stay in because it is a huge force multiplier, whether it be the Mark 19 or the 50 cal. You want the gunner in there, so that will be a soft dismount. A combat dismount is everyone except the gunner will exit the vehicle. This doesn't mean that the driver should move far away from the vehicle. The driver should always stay relatively near the vehicle and relatively near the side door. So if the
vehicle's a Lambo,
an emergency, he can get there and he can do it ASAP. The last thing you want is your driver fucking 20 meters away from your vehicle, and
I hate the command vehicle though, because it's only got a 50. If anything, I should have a bumper sticker that says my other Vic has a Mark 19.
Driver, we call a combat dismount. Don't stray too far from the Vic. Always try to make sure you're on the side where you do get into the driver's seat as well. The next type of dismount is a full dismount. Self-explanatory. Everyone out of the vehicle, driver and gunner included. This is rarely used, I think, unless we are purposely leaving the vehicle somewhere or we're in a safe place.
Can't wait to get your controller set up for Star Citizen.
And we know they're not going to get stolen.
What are you getting, like one of the old school fucking what was it, Steel Division fucking controllers with the dual sticks and shit?
For whatever reason,
God, I remember when those things came out, they were like fucking so expensive.
And we need to stop for a second. We would just leave the gunners in, because if anything pops...
Yeah, Wave, this is our OSUT. Right now my assistant instructor is taking the guys through
really important to make sure that
how to work with the gun trucks and stuff. I just got done going through a big spiel, and then once he's done, I'll take back over and take him through how to breach and clear a room and shit.
No, Sergeant.
No, Sergeant.
One note about dismounting as well. Whenever we do
dismount,
make sure you pull 360. If there is no other solid cover around the vehicle, then obviously use the vehicle as solid cover. But
not go all the way with the foot pedals. Really, you can get foot pedals super cheap, because you can get like pedals like for racing and use them same way. That's what Soto does when he's flying the A10. Like he's got the A10 Warthog
guys,
HOTAS, but he
all
uses
behind a
his
Cougar is a very tricky
Thrustmaster
target
pedals
for,
for his
enemy.
rudders.
You know, whether that be an RPG or a GMG or a Shoka, something like that. You know, it's a huge fucking target to present itself. So make sure
Lamone,
you guys don't all huddle around.
thank you for the follow.
So usually when we drive the Cougars, the driver within the squad, this is usually I use the word.
Yeah, Soto's got a nice setup.
This can all
Once
change
I
depending
get
on
my
depending on the situation.
my actual like
But the
cockpit,
driver
I want to get
is
one of
normally
the
rifleman.
you know, like
navigator
race
will be your
cockpits
team
that you
leader.
can buy.
Your gunner is
Once I
your
get one of
engineer
those, it'll be
and
really
your
nice.
support. Not really
Not be
used
rolling
much,
across the
but
fucking
support is
floor
the
in an
automatic
office chair
rifleman.
and shit anymore.
He will be in the back seat ready to assist if he's needed. But like I said, this can all change. Within a squad, I will always assign. I'll say, hey, Alpha, it is your responsibility.
Yeah,
to
Wave,
drive
I'm basically into
man the Vic.
big ass
Bravo,
online
you guys just get in
communities.
the back.
Everything I do is
Again,
online.
This changes throughout operations or throughout, you know,
Hence
different
why
missions. I'll
this is
tell
my
Bravo
job.
to do it sometimes. But I'll always have one fire team.
Or at least it
gunning
is
and
for
driving.
now.
It's
That
just a lot simpler. They'll both be on the fire team now.
it may potentially
Already
change.
got, you know, pre-programmed, the radios
We'll
will
see.
both hopefully know each other. So it's just a little bit easier.
Was offered a
The next thing we're going to
job today that's a full-time job.
So the first speed is QX speed. This is relatively
Kind of
slow.
having
This is
to
when you'll be holding your left
make a
control
decision
and
here
whiskey.
soon whether
This is used in urban environments
I want to
when we're
keep
passing
trying
through
to
towns and cities.
make this work or go back
Next
to work
speed
full
is
time.
whiskey. This is just normal. You're just holding W. This is used all of the times.
So I'd be
Urban,
doing
so you use whiskey
property
all the time
maintenance.
unless we're in an urban environment. Next is echo speed, also known as emergency
Yeah,
speed.
it's worse.
This
It's the
is
worst.
when
Like when
you
I'm pressing on my
shift
brake
whiskey.
pedal and I start
This
rolling away
basically
from my
gives you a
desk.
little bit of extra speed. It's used
Wave
to
right now.
push
This
through
is
contact
what I do.
and
This is
move
my
out of the
job,
hostile area. So,
or at least I'm
good example
doing
I
my
always use is
best to
we're
make it
moving
my
down
job.
a highway or a road, and a bunch of enemies present themselves at the side of the highway trying to ambush us, and they start taking shots at us. And over 5-0 over convoy net, it gets called to push through contact. That means that every single driver needs to hit shift and whiskey.
Believe me,
and
Wave, I
basically
definitely
bug out
want
as quick
to.
as we fucking can and get away from that contact.
Provided I'm able to keep things growing and do even better than what I did last year, then it's a good possibility. But you know, the job that was just offered to me, like I said, is full time with benefits and stuff. So
convoy and on 5-0,
it's something I'm gonna have to think about for a little bit.
Every Vic at 50 kph. So every Vic gets themselves up to 50 kph.
The only downside is if I take
that
job, then that means I won't be able to stream near as much.
It's not a cruise control. This just means that the Vic will only go as fast as 50. You still have to keep holding whiskey. It's also that that's a really useful tool for maintaining vehicle spacings. A lot of the time when we're convoying, we'll have Vics. You know, some Vics will be really.
Oh yeah, absolutely, monster. Yeah, the only downside is time becomes more relevant when you have a family.
But if we all do go at the same speed, then in theory we all should maintain our spacings regardless of the terrain. So yeah, that's why we use that. Any questions?
No, Sergeant.
No, Sergeant.
Okay. If I have a better example down here. You guys move down a little bit further with me.
I don't know. I'd like to follow the heat right now too, because it's like fucking
as you can see here on our left,
-2 degrees outside right now.
Example positions of when we do a dismount. When you guys get out the Vics, you know you have a few guys scattered around. There's 2 Vics here. This is the kind of spacing you want away from your vehicle. Because worst case scenario, if one of these Vics gets hit by a Tunguska or by
fucking last night it got down to like fucking -12.
You guys are a decent distance
fucking
away,
sucks.
so you can move away from it before it explodes. But yeah, that's really important, especially if an RPG hits one of these and they start to smoke. Get the fuck away from them, because 9 times out of 10 they are going to explode, and they have a lot of munitions inside.
Just got back from Israel. Hot. Well, yeah, it's the fucking desert.
Some of them have weapon squad.
Tends to be pretty warm there.
7.62 belts, Moz rockets, javelin rockets.
That's what I remember when I was over there. Like when I'd come home, people were like, "Oh yeah, it's really hot over there, right?" And, oh yeah, like 120 plus, and I'd be like, "Well, at least it's dry heat." No, motherfucker, like 120 degrees is hot. It doesn't matter if it's fucking dry heat or not. It's fucking hot, okay? Fuck you.
basically getting suppressed by anything the vehicle is able to sustain for a long period of time. So that's 7.62, 9mm from pistols.
Yes,
the
bro.
vehicle is
Like, it's
absolutely
fucking
fine to use
ridiculous
as cover.
out.
However,
Like the other night, it was fucking
an
like
example
negative
when the vehicle is
22 or
not
some
effective
shit.
cover is when enemy tanks, aircrafts, rockets, GMGs being fired at you. Anything that can potentially destroy or harm the vehicle or render the vehicle will render it ineffective cover. So you need to really fucking know and have a good situational awareness of what you're being shot at by. You know, if you see a tank fucking lining you and your Vic up, get the fuck away from it. Self-explanatory, a lot of common sense there as well. Just know what you're being suppressed by. Next is operating
65 and
with the
partly
vehicle.
cloudy here in SoCal.
The first
Yeah,
point in this is
but
always
you're
have
still
the
in the
vehicle
fucking
escort.
Republic
This
of
is usually the
California.
vehicle's fire team moving ahead of the vehicle to
I'd
clear
rather deal
corners,
with the negative 20.
openings down streets and crossings. So this is by the way, this is so if we are dismounted and we do a thing called walking the Vixen, this is when we have the fire team in front of the vehicle.
Coastal
and the
Mississippi
vehicle
can
is
be
moving
miserable
really
in the
close
summer,
straight
yeah.
behind the fire team.
I've
If you
worked in
urban environment,
Missouri in
clear
August.
out, you know,
Not
stupid
fun.
shit. If you are walking a Vic in, you are acting as
Jackaboy,
sensor.
thank you for the follow.
You're going to be probing corners and looking at shit before the Vic moves, because you know in an urban environment it's very easy for someone to pop out of a street corner with an RPG and hit the Vic. So we are in front of the vehicle for a reason, to identify those threats and kill them and deal with them.
Came back from Cali, it was nice. Yeah, California's nice to visit.
MRAPs, Cougars are a huge fucking target for an enemy. Really easy to hit. They're kind of slow.
Yeah, I feel you, Ciro. It'd be like when I'm out, like
no
fucking out plowing, and I'd be like dropping salt, and somebody'd be, you know, walking into a store or something, like, oh yeah, it's pretty cool out here. Yeah, no shit, dickhead, I've been out here for the last 3 hours, go fuck yourself.
The squad should always be leading the vehicle. Like I said, you're going to be acting as its sensors. Always have the vehicle escort. Move ahead of the vehicle to clear corners, openings, and down street crossings. Kind of already gone over that. Always leave the driver and gunner in the vehicle. The exception to this being if the vehicle
Yeah, I was in
for
Missouri
extended period of time,
for a few weeks working.
stay adjacent to the vehicle. So if we're
I remember the
stopped
name
for
of
a
the
while,
fucking
the
town we
driver
were
can
in.
Get out, like I said before, stay close because you may need to get back in the Vic and move it.
I know it was,
yeah, if we're walking the Vixen, drivers and gunners always stay in.
like it had the same name as another town in like Georgia or Alabama or some shit. And we kept confusing it with that. I can't remember the name of the fucking town now.
No, sir.
Okay, like I said, a lot of this is common sense. Next is convoy operations. First Sergeant Mayer told you he fucking loves convoy operations. He loves convoy net, he loves everything about it. So I'll
Oh, right on, Rev. That's awesome to hear, man.
Convoy movement and communication. Communication is key within convoys. It over convoy net, which I said prior is frequency 50. Keeping the information going on convoy net and calling out turns, speed changes, corrections to the movement, etc. That's what convoy net is used for. Now, when I say calling out turns, this is
not at all, Ralph. Go ahead.
Every time your vehicle takes a left turn, you call it. It depends where you are in the convoy. The only people who will ever call their turns will be the lead Vic, so the first Vic.
And Ravishal, if you're in my Discord, link it in there as well.
Anything in between doesn't need to be called because if they didn't turn left, it would have been noticed a long time ago. So we're just going to assume that everything in between has done that left.
Oh, right on, monster.
Otherwise, convoy net would just be a fucking clusterfuck of everyone saying we've turned left and we've turned left. It's too much. The correct way of saying this, if you are a Vic gunner or driver, now between the gunner and driver, they can decide who calls the turns, who actually operates convoy net. They will both be on convoy net, but
oh, Rev, if you don't have the Discord, if you just do !! Discord in chat, it'll pop up the link for it.
And the correct way of saying it is Vic. Vic is obviously short for vehicle 1, turning left. The last Vic in the convoy should always call out their movement as last Vic. So just because you're Vic number 5 and there's no Vic number 6, don't say Vic 5 turning left. It's
I also have stuff on sale. I have my own t-shirts and hoodies and, most importantly, coffee cups now, as I sit here and take a drink out of my War Games Inc. coffee cup.
But if you're the last Vic, you are known as last Vic. entering and
Makes the
exiting
coffee taste that much better.
So example on the radiator will Vic1 entering town Quebec speed. Breaking this down, this means Vic1, so the lead Vic is now entering a urban environment, i.e. town, and they have moved to Quebec speed. That is the speeds I went over earlier. Then once we clear the town, you know, Vic1 exiting town, back to whiskey speed. And once
Meyer says anymore, I'm gonna stab him in the throat.
last Vic exiting town, Quebec speed. Pretty simple. But really important on convoy net. It's really, you know, if we don't hear the last Vic call that they've done the turn, everyone starts asking questions real fucking
Hoff, all you gotta do is exclamation point gear, and that'll pull up a link to merch.
You guys move down here a little bit with me.
And I gotta say, I actually really like these hoodies. Like, I'm wearing my hoodie right now. And they're actually really nice hoodies. Like, it's that soft shit on the inside. Almost like, not felt, but like, what's the word I'm looking for? Fleece. It's almost like a fleece inside. It's fucking great.
This is the herringbone formation. You can see here the lead Vic has taken a right turn, and the Vic behind it, the second Vic, has taken a left turn. And this is herringbone, so you go left to right to right, right to left to right to left, all the way down to the very last Vic. We do this for a couple reasons, and also I could go over earlier on convoy net. When you herringbone, you always want to call Vic1 herringbone left, immediately followed by the maneuver, and the rest of the convoy should be consistent.
Probably not Monster, because just from looking at that map, it would probably have horrible fucking performance, especially with the size of our task force. I mean, to use it for like a squirrel op, maybe, but even then, I don't think the performance on it would be very good.
Now, another really important thing about the herringbone formation is that it keeps the center of the road clear.
I would love to do a Red Dawn type thing though, if I could find like a cool US map that looks like fucking, you know, suburbia somewhere. Like, that would be cool to do some type of Red Dawn thing like that.
Towards the convoy, we will herringbone. The bars or javelin gunners are then the only people to authorized to move into the center of the road. If you're in a rifle squad, do not fucking cross the road. Do not play chicken.
Now, Vert, you know the most important thing out of all that gear is your PT belt.
Middle of the roads at the same time that a Moz rocket fires.
Actually, Drum sent me a link. There's actually a fucking mod now for the reflective fucking PT belts. And he was like, you should make these requirement for tomorrow, meaning tonight, for the games. I would love to, man. It'd be fucking hilarious. Tell everybody, alright, get your PT belts on.
Being able to look directly down the center of the road. If we have, you know, a gun truck or a technical coming towards us,
wait till you get back for that. When the hell do you get home, Caldwell?
Either, because if you cross the line of fire, they either have to shoot through you or stop shooting. So yeah, you'll normally see 240 Bravos getting set up in the middle. And like I said, the only people who are authorized to cross the road or move into the center of the road will be your weapons team. Any questions on the herringbone?
Hey, radioactive.
No, sir.
Okay, should have gone over this a little bit earlier, but gun orientation. So the gunners in the convoy should always be alternating.
Trying to make you join a website. I don't know why the hell I'd make you try and join a website. That's I've never heard of Streamlabs trying to do that before.
Convoy watching our rear. Very self-explanatory.
I need to look at that.
So if you see the Vic in front of you looking the wrong way, make sure it gets called up on convoy net. But make sure you are always facing the opposite way to the Vic in front of you. Apart from obviously if you're the rear Vic, you're facing the back. If you're the lead Vic, you're facing the front.
I mean, as far as directly, like my my business email.
About 10 meters off the road, left to right, alternating Vics each side of the convoy. This example isn't great, so it only shows you two. But
is that so? Like, you could, you know, PayPal directly to that. That's my business email. But I've never heard of Streamlabs trying to make you
occasionally, like I said,
pay like a monthly fee.
So if we do take small arms fire, and we're very sure that is only
right on, Hoff. That's what I did. I mean, that's the whole reason I did the Teespring thing, is so I could get my own hoodie and coffee cup.
We'll push through contact. So, pushing through contact is.
So you'll be back in like Aprilish.
Okay. When there is absolutely no sufficient cover to allow dismounts or the vehicle protection.
In Germany right now? Right on. Germany was nice, man. Like, I genuinely enjoyed Germany. The food was fucking amazing, man.
And that's in that moment you'll be moving to that shift whiskey speed where you get that extra a little bit of speed on your vehicle, and we'll just be pushing through until we get told to return back to normal speed.
Wave, just scroll up a little bit there
That
in
is
chat.
it.
It's
For
in
vehicles,
chat.
any questions
It's
while I've gone over so
Brewer,
far?
same as my last name, 151 at Yahoo. That's my
Correct.
business email.
First Sergeant.
All right. Guys feel like you have a good understanding of how to work with these vehicles?
Yes, First Sergeant.
Just research.
That's first start.
All right. Nobody has any questions?
No, first sergeant.
No, First Sergeant. No, first start.
All right. So, one thing I want to go over here. When working with these trucks, or even the helicopters, all right, something to keep in mind is just because we allow you guys to use third person does not mean we're okay with you fucking abusing it. All right? I can tell you from personal fucking experience. These Cougars, you can't see shit sitting in the back of them. Right? There's one window in the motherfucker in the back door. That's it. So at no point in time, if you're riding in the back of it, should you be calling out targets to the guy up in the nest because you can see them being in third person. Same goes for the helicopters. You have no fucking visibility riding in the back of a Chinook. So you sure as shit are not calling out what you're seeing on the ground as you're coming into an LZ. You guys understand that?
Just research. Sergeant.
Yes, understood, First Sergeant.
Alright. So what we're going to do now, we're going to head back to staging area. You guys are going to get geared up. And then we're going to head out to the mount course and teach you how to breach and clear a building. Alright, so stand by for 1 second. Hey, Wave with the 5 spot. Thank you very much, brother. I appreciate the support. Very, very much so. Alright. You guys are approach the flagpole back behind you. Teleport back to the staging area. Alright. Sergeant Myers, go ahead and get him in there and geared up.
That's First Sergeant. Follow me. Alright. Go ahead and go to the Fly Sergeant. Grab rifleman loadouts. Down the ones with the AT4s.
Try the new training map. New training map isn't done yet.
Nope, do not use that one.
Hey, Cope, what's going on, brother?
Come to this side, there's a scroll option, you can see the arsenal.
Sergeant Caldwell, have him use the one for us. The ones out here are broken.
Where's that, First Sergeant? Alright. This occasion, use that one in there, but all of the times, to get this template fixed, don't use it.
Alright. Now we get the long wait for that to finish up. Oh, god damn it. Did I just call him Caldwell? Fuck off. I'm talking to Caldwell in chat.
No, I'm sure.
Well, that and I wish he was here instead of you because I like him more than you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but tough shit you stuck with me. Asshole.
I try. Normally, yes. If we go into the classroom and we're going to be sitting in there, we take our covers off. Yeah, I try.
Private Stark, you got a question?
Do we need vectors and radio?
No. You do not. Now, usually, if you were, you know, getting kitted out to go out, then yes, you would use them. Great question, but for now, for the purpose of mount, you will not need them.
Roger.
Are all yours first, Sergeant?
Alright. While we're waiting on this template to finish uploading, I'm going to give you guys a quick 5 mics. Take a piss, get something to drink, do whatever the fuck it is you need to do. So you got 5 minutes. Well, you don't need a full arsenal. Alright, I myself am also going to take a piss, so I'll be right back, guys.
Private Booze, you have a question?
Requesting a 2-minute piss break there, Sergeant.
Yeah, go for it.
Alright, we are back. And yeah, the FTX is tomorrow. Alright, looks like everything's loaded up, so I'm just gonna fucking... We're healthy. Where's my goddamn flag gone? Oh yeah, because I unloaded the fucking day. But deleted that with it. God damn it. Oh yeah, TDN, we have guys from all over the world. I mean, Meyer's sitting here, my assistant instructor is in the UK. Not yet, Cope. Alright, so I'm gonna have to put down another flag out here. Because this is taking too fucking long.
Back, Sergeant.
Roger.
Of course, now it fucking finished. Alright, we got all three here.
Yes, for Sergeant.
Yes, First Sergeant.
Yes, for sure.
Alright, well, I guess Bose is having a snack and he didn't bring enough for the rest of us, so why don't you guys do approach the blue flag over there? You're going to teleport to Charlie. Hopefully they're smart enough to actually go to Charlie and not Alpha. Hey, they were. Alright, follow me over here. Alright, actually stand by for a hot second, because it tends to help if I have my own fucking rifle. Alright, so, when operating in a MOUT situation, again, MOUT being military operations on urban terrain. Firstly, when it comes to moving through that type of terrain, generally, we're going to be moving along in a file, right? However, it's not the traditional file that we went over on day one. It's changed up a little bit. So instead of the point man being the team leader, point man is going to be the rifleman. Number 2 man is going to be the team leader. Number 3 is going to be the grenadier. Last man is the automatic rifleman. Alright, so it's changed up a little bit from the traditional file that you guys know. Now when we have to move along roadways, okay, we're going to be moving along the fronts of buildings and stuff. Alright, so imagine your stereotypical downtown type area. You got all your storefronts and stuff. Usually a squad will move with one team on each side of the road. So you'll have, say, Alpha on the right side of the road and Bravo on the left side of the road. And they're moving in those files directly across from each other. Now when it comes to sectors of responsibility, as you can see the guys here, point man is covering the front 180, or front 90 really. Number 2 man, he's got a wall or a building or whatever to his right. So he's covering left. Same with number 3 man. Last man is also doing the same thing. However, when you stop, just like the rifleman does in a normal fire team file, he's going to spin around and cover the rear. Alright? Just like with that rifleman, when you're moving down the street, you're not fucking moving backwards. Right? You do that when you stop. Now the important thing to note here is, again, you have a fire team on both sides. Alright, so just like with the staggered column that we went over on day 1, the guys on the right side of the road, they still need to cover the left side because there's nothing to cover to the right. You got storefronts and shit. As you go by windows and doors and things, you'll turn and look in them. But your primary responsibility is going to be across the road from you. However, you have troops across the road from you. What they have above them is second stories and rooftops. So that's what you're watching because they can't see it. And the same goes for them. They're watching up above you. So if you're on the right side of the road like these guys are, you're looking over to the left, but you're checking those second story windows, the rooftops, stuff like that. You're covering the guys across from you. When you get to a danger area, like this opening here, the point man is going to stop, pie that corner, or peek around the edge of that corner, and he's going to hold security. Now, there's two different ways to cross a danger area in a mout environment like that. You can either do a full security setup, or you can flow through it. Now, to do a full security setup, what's going to happen is that point man is going to come up to the corner like this, and he's going to basically... I'll add a little bit. We'll do it over here.
First sergeant, you're not on yelling.
Okay. Everybody hearing me now?
Yes, Richard.
Alright.
First sergeant.
So the point man is going to come up to the corner much like this and lean out, and he's going to set up security like this. Now the next guy behind him is going to cross over to the other side and do the same thing on the other corner. And then the other two guys can move across, and they'll stack up and wait. Right, that's the normal full security setup to cross a danger area. Now to flow across a danger area, much quicker, but also not as safe. So to flow across, if these guys were going to flow across this danger area, this point man would set up and cover this corner. The number 2 man, the team leader here, would push across, and he would just keep moving. He would not stop on the other side and set up security. He would keep moving down the street. Same goes for the rest of the team. Once the entire team is across, then this last man will go ahead and fall in to the back of the file. Okay, so that's especially where that formation needs to be fluid and changeable. You need to be ready for your formation to change at any point in time when moving through an urban environment, especially when you're flowing around corners, across danger areas and stuff like that. But again, flowing like that is much more dangerous because you don't have as much security set up. Now when it comes time to where you need to breach, because believe it or not, we do not breach every single building we come through. All right, we don't go fucking door to door. We only breach buildings if either A, we know there's an enemy inside, or B, we have a good suspicion that there is enemy inside, meaning we've heard gunfire from within that building or very close to that building. Then we'll breach it, clear it, and make sure we're good to go. All right, but we do not go into every single building. That being said, when it is time to breach, then the first thing you're going to do is the team is going to approach the breach area, and the point man is going to pie the corner. Pieing a corner is incredibly important. But the thing to keep in mind is it's not just when you're about to breach. Okay, anytime you're about to bust a corner, you need to pie it first. So if you were to imagine that this was walking down a roadway here, and this here is another road, this was an intersection, and this is a corner of a building, I'm not just going to go running across here. And I'm not just going to round the corner like this. Okay, when I approach the corner, I'm going to stop and pie it first. Now to pie, the farther out away from the wall that you can get, the better angle that you're going to have. So what that means is, if I lean out like this, and I move out here in a semicircular fashion, that is pieing the corner. Alright, and I'm just sweeping my barrel across that way. Now the important thing is, when you're pieing, is you want to try your best not to cross this threshold here. Alright, so you're going to pie out to here, and then stop. Now there are times where you'll have to cross that threshold, but you want to do your best not to. Especially if it's something that you're about to breach. Now obviously if you're about to round a corner, then you're going to cross that threshold because you have to. You're about to round that fucking corner. But if you're going to breach a compound like this, you want to do your best not to cross that threshold into this area. Alright, this is essentially no man's land. Alright, any of you know what the nickname for this area is?
Fatal funnel.
Exactly, the fatal funnel. It's named so because of the fact that every fucking bullet in that area is about to funnel out of it. Never, ever spend too much time in here. You get out of the fatal funnel as quickly as you possibly can. And you sure as fuck never stop in the fatal funnel. It is the worst thing you can possibly do. Because not only one, is it going to get you killed, it's going to get your fucking buddy killed when he tries to pull you out of the way. Now when it does come time to breach, as I said, the point man is going to pie the corner. When he's pieing, if I were breaching this compound, if I was pieing this, I'd lean out here, and if I got to here, and there's an enemy inside there, very simply, if he sees me, I'm going to engage while I fall back behind cover. Alright, so again, I get to here, see someone, I engage, and fall back. You do not sit out here and get in a fucking one-on-one gunfight. Alright, never do we get in a one-on-one gunfight. You are not Wyatt fucking Earp. This is not the OK Corral. Fall back against cover. Once you get back into cover, by that point, the rest of your team is going to be stacked up behind you. You're going to relay every bit of information you can to the rest of your team, preferably using your radio, because you can't rely on strictly local chat. Okay, they're not necessarily going to be able to hear you when there's gunfights and shit going on all around you. So if you're the point man, you relay back to the rest of your team. You know, we got one contact, far side of the far into the room, right side, deep into the room, right side, whatever. However you want to relay that information, just make sure it's accurate. Now, based upon that information, your team leader is going to decide what type of breach you're going to do. Now, if you relay back no visible threat, then he's just going to tell you to do a normal breach. Now, that does not mean fucking haul balls into the room. You relay back the information, team leaders are going to call, all right, let's breach. You guys are going to call your sets. 1 set, 2 set, 3 set, last man set. Okay? If you're the last man in the stack, you call last man set. It doesn't matter if you're the second guy or the fucking 12th guy. If you're the last guy in the stack, you call last man set. That then lets the rest of the fucking team know, and most importantly, lets the point man know, okay, we're ready to go. Now, once all the sets are called, one set, 2 set, 3 set, last man set, then the team leader will call breach. Still doesn't mean take off into the room. When the team leader calls breach, now it's entirely in the hands of the point man. He now controls the stack. He's going to decide when you breach and where you go. So that team leader will call breach, point man will call breaching, and then what direction he's going, and then he'll go. Alright, so he'll say breaching, going left. And then he'll go. He'll breach. If I was going left, then I would button hook around this corner and stay on this wall. Number 2 man would go the opposite direction. So if I was a point man and went left, number 2 man is going to go right. Number 3 man is going to go left and follow me. Last man is going to go right. Alright, you go back and forth. Very simple. Now when you breach, something that was taught to me a long time ago, if you're wrong, stay wrong. If you were supposed to go right and you go left, stay left. Let the guy behind you make up for your mistake. Because if you went left and you were supposed to go right and you realize it and turn around and try and go over to the right side, now, 1, you're going back into that fatal funnel. 2, you're probably going to fucking run into the guy that's about to make up for your mistake. So now there's 2 of you clusterfucked in the fatal funnel, and it's going to get both of you screwed up. So again, if you're wrong, stay wrong. Now that's how a normal breach would go. Alright, again, relay the information. Team leader tells you what kind of breach it's going to be. Call your sets. Team leader calls breach. Point man calls breaching, what direction he's going, and breaches. Now if the team leader calls that you're going to do a flash and breach, Point man is not the guy that throws the fucking flashbang. It's the number 2 man. Going to be the team leader. He's going to step out from the stack. So if I was the point man, team leader would be behind me. He would step out from behind me and essentially pie the corner. And when he gets out to about here, he's going to chuck the flashbang in and immediately fall back into the stack. Now, when you're doing a flash and breach, or even if you're doing a frag and breach, when that grenade detonates, that is your cue to go. You do not need to wait for the team leader to call breach and so on. As soon as that thing detonates, the point man is going to call breaching, what direction he's going, and then go. Alright, you're not waiting as long. Now, when that point man is stacked up, so if I was a point man stacked up here, this is how and where you'd be stacked up. What is one thing you notice about where I am stacked?
A few feet back from the corner.
Exactly. Right? I am back away from that threshold. Very simple reasoning. You stack up here, yes, you're closer to the door, you can get in quicker. However, if there's an asshole inside, he's going to see my barrel sticking out there in front of, or through that threshold. All right. This is in breaching situations. This is what we call over-penetration. Right? You're over-penetrating that doorway. Very simple way to fucking remember not to do this. Think of this rifle as your dick. If you wouldn't put your dick out there, don't put your fucking rifle out there. Stack yourself up a couple feet back so they cannot see your rifle. They don't know you're about to breach. Alright, any questions?
No, for sergeant.
No first sergeant.
Alright. Go ahead and move inside here. Now look at these guys on the entry wall. Alright, the entry wall is the wall you fucking are up against when you breach in. Bose and Foster, that means you need to turn around and look at the guys against the wall. Look at where they're placed. Okay? When you breach, number 1 man and the number 2 man, they're the corner guys. Alright? So, if I was out here and the point man, and I called that I'm breaching going left, again, I button hook around the corner like this. First, I clear the near corner. I do this as I'm moving. At no point in time do I stop. Even if I come around the corner like this, and there's a guy standing right where Stark is. I already have the fun switch flipped on my M4. I pump 3-4 rounds into him while I'm turning, and I clear my corner. So I clear my near corner while I'm moving down, turn, I clear the far corner, and then turn into the center of the room. Clearing this from the far corner to the center of the room, all while I'm still moving down my entry wall until I hit my corner. Once I hit my corner, and I have the center of the room clear, I then turn back and cover down the length of the wall. Alright, everybody getting that?
Yes, for sergeant.
Yes, for sergeant.
Same goes for the guy on the other side. Number 2 guy. He goes right, he clears his near corner, far corner, center of the room, back to the far corner. Now the number 3 and the number 4 man, when they come in, if I was the number 3 man and going left behind the point man, I come in, I don't need to clear the near corner. Number 1 guy is already there. So I go immediately to the far corner and then to the center of the room. And then I hold on the center of the room. I don't need to hold on the far corner. Point man has that. I hold on the center of the room. But I only move about halfway down the entry wall. You do not move all the way to the fucking corner because you do not want to be right on top of that corner guy. Now once you're in and you have the room cleared, the corner guys are the only ones that call their area clear. Okay, so guy on the left corner, once it's clear, he'll call left clear. Guy on the right will call right clear. Whichever corner guy calls his side clear last, calls the room clear. Alright, so if right guy says right clear, then he'll call room clear. and then you can push into the next room or deeper into the compound, whatever it may be. However, if there is some type of hide, if this courtyard, instead of this house, it had, say, an abandoned vehicle or something in the center of a courtyard, that's a hide. That area is not fucking clear. You need to clear that hide before you can call it clear. So then you need to push, right? And that's usually the type of command that you're going to hear. You're all going to be lined up on the entry wall like you see these guys. Guy on the right, or whoever is the last guy to call their side clear, he'll call, right clear, and then the team leader will call push. Now, usually in ArmA, we will move down our walls. Okay, so this corner guy is just going to push directly down this wall like this. Number 3 man is going to follow down this wall to the corner and then push up the wall. You do not cut diagonally across here to this wall and then start following him. You move down the fucking wall. Now when it comes time, if again that house was an abandoned vehicle, this guy here, who is the corner guy, is going to reach it first. Now normally his area of responsibility would be direct ahead, and the guy behind him would be covering my 2 o'clock or my right side. However, if that hide, that abandoned car, is in the center of this compound, I now need to cover my right, because I'm the first guy that's going to reach the back side of that car. However, if I cover my right, now nobody is covering direct in front. Anybody have a guess as to what I should do in that situation?
Move off the wall.
Duck. I believe you have to duck.
There you go. Crouch. I go down like this, and I start pieing around that car. Now the guy behind me can stand and fire over top of my head should a target present itself down there at the end of the wall. Alright, very, very simple. Now, the other way to push in a compound like this or in a large room is to push online. That's how we did it in real world. However, in ArmA, it's very difficult to push online with each other because you don't have the same peripheral that you do in real life. But to push online with each other, essentially you maintain your current positions, how these guys are on the entry wall, and they just push direct forward. Right? That way you have essentially the skirmish line that we talked about the other day. You have that skirmish line inside of the room or inside of the compound, whatever. And should a target present itself anywhere in that compound, all 4 weapon systems can engage. It is the safest way to push in a room or a compound, but it is very difficult, like I said, to do it in ArmA and do it properly. Alright, so that's something you have to keep in mind. Now the other thing is, when moving down these walls, or even down storefronts or stuff like that, there's a old saying that bullets follow walls. That's true. You never at any point in time want to be right up against a wall. You want to try and have a little bit of buffer between you and the wall. Not only because bullets follow it, but also because of splash. Okay, this is more so when traveling down a street. You want to be about a meter off of the wall. Alright, in freedom units, that means you're 3 feet off the wall next to you. Reason for that being, if someone fires an RPG at that wall, that 3-foot distance is going to save your ass a little bit with fragmentation. Doesn't mean you're going to be perfectly fucking safe, but it's better than being right up against the wall. Alright, any questions on that?
No for
Go for
certain.
certain.
Alright. Now, last thing to go over when breaching and clearing and so on. As I said earlier, if you're wrong, stay wrong. Now, another part of that is, if, say, you breach a room and you get hit and you drop down to the ground, stay on the ground until someone tells you to get up. right? If you get hit and get dropped to your knee or get dropped all the way down prone, do not immediately stand up. You could stand up into the line of fire because whoever engaged you is probably about to get shot by the rest of your team. So just stay on the ground until someone tells you to get up. All right? Sergeant
Yes,
Myers,
sir.
anything to add?
Negative first sergeant.
All right, excellent. So what we're going to do real quick is we're going to give you guys a little bit of practice on this. This is not going to be live fire. You guys are not going to be throwing grenades or anything like that. This is simply going to be you guys practicing, stacking up, pieing, and breaching. You don't have a fourth man at the moment. Sergeant Myers will act as your number 4. Don't need to worry about using your radios or anything like that. This is just about you getting used to the movement and the call-outs of calling your sets, breaching, so on and so forth. All right, so move over here across the street. All right, we're going to practice breaching this compound, so go ahead and pull the rifles off your backs. All right. Now you guys are going to rotate through who's going to be the point man, so on and so forth. All right. Just like with any other formation, the stack needs to be fluid. All right. Point man isn't always going to be the rifleman. Whoever the fuck is your best point man in town, that's who's going to be on point. I don't give a shit if it's a guy carrying a 249. If he's your best fucking guy on point, then he's going up front. All right, so you guys each are going to get a chance at doing this. So again, first you're going to pie it. You're going to relay any relevant information to the rest of your team. Bose, you're going to call when to breach it. And then Stark, you'll call breaching, what direction you're going, and you guys will go in. All right, any questions?
No, first sergeant.
Over. Sergeant.
All right, Stark, whenever you're ready, pie it. You guys go through the motions.
Alright, there's a house, 2 windows, 2 doors.
All right, he's calling windows and
Roger,
doors.
Understood. Breach.
Breaching going left.
I didn't hear anybody call that they were set. Get your asses back outside. I did not hear anybody call that they were set. I'd like to know how the fuck you guys are breaching. For all you know, Myers was back there playing with his dick.
Alright, piling. House, 2 windows, 2 doors. 1 set.
2 set.
3 set.
Last one set.
Breach.
Breaching going left.
Breaching going right.
Breaching going left.
Going right.
Left clear.
Right. Clear.
All right, that wasn't horrible. Move back out there. All right. Guys ever heard the phrase too and fast make them hesitate? No? All right.
No, first sergeant.
Too in fast make them hesitate. Get in the room as quickly as you possibly can. Give the enemy more targets than they can engage. All right? Simple numbers game. One guy runs in the door. He shoots at him. If the second guy is a fucking full second or 2 seconds behind him, he can engage him. You have to make sure when that guy calls breach and you call breaching and go, rest of you guys in the stack need to be right on his ass, ready to go. And as soon as he starts moving, you are right behind him. All 4 guys in a team should be in that fucking door within a second, maybe 1.5 seconds. Alright, you guys tracking?
Yes, for
Understood.
Sergeant.
Alright, let's do it one more time.
Alright, piling.
You had best unfuck yourself or I will
House,
unscrew
two
your
windows,
head
two
and get
doors.
down your neck!
One set.
Hey, Cope with
Understood,
the gifted sub to Hoff.
Last man set.
I will say thank you on behalf of Hoff. Thank
Breach.
you very much, Cope.
Reaching, going left.
Breaching going left.
From right.
Left here.
Alright, who can tell me the
Right
problem here? Foster, where's your entry wall?
Behind me.
What happens if I'm an enemy target? I shoot you in the face while Stark is sitting there playing with himself because he cannot shoot me because you're in the way. Get your ass back up against that wall. Alright, get back out there. And that guy's fucking warping all over the place. Alright, we're changing it up. Bose, you're taking point. Stark, you're number 2.
Roger.
Alright, whenever you're ready.
Applying the corner. House, 2 windows, door on the right hand side. 1 set.
Two set.
3 set.
Last man set.
Reach. Going right.
From right.
Why did I not hear Bose call that he was breaching and what direction he was going?
Fucked up for Sergeant.
Your ass is back out there. Let's do it again. Yeah, his fucking desync is horrible right now. Alright, bust him.
Behind the corner. House, 2 windows, door on the right hand side.
I don't know, Sphere. I think it's just his fucking desync that's all fucked
1
up.
set.
Two set.
3 set.
Last man set.
Reach.
1 breaching, going left.
From right.
Alright, it wasn't horrible. Bose, you're getting a lot of desync, so it's throwing everybody else off. And Foster, I seen you fucking sneak back there. Keep your ass on that entry wall. Get back outside. Foster, you're on point. Alright, bust him.
Alright, pine. Alright. 2 windows, 2 doors, compound. 1 set.
2 set.
Three set.
Last man set.
Number 2, you gotta tell him to breach.
Breaching right.
Going up.
From right.
Yeah, his desync definitely fucked things up there. Alright, that would have been alright, but fucking Bose's desync really fucked you guys there. Alright, go ahead and rally on me.
I was gonna say first sergeant, I thought if you were wrong, stay wrong, but if it was desync, it's my bad.
Yeah,
Thought
it
I
was
saw
fine.
someone change their mind halfway through going in.
Alright. Wasn't horrible. Like I said, Bo's desync kind of really throwing you guys off there, but Mout is one of those things, you guys will get a lot of training on it. We continually train on Mout. There's a reason for that. It is hands down the most dangerous thing that we do, and the most difficult thing that we do. There are guys that train their entire lives doing this shit. It is something that you can never perfect. You'll never do it 100%, no mistakes. There is always something that can be improved. That being said, you know, we train on it as much as possible so we can try and minimize those mistakes. Now, when you get into a final billet with a fire team and you're training with those guys week after week after week, you can get pretty goddamn proficient at it to a point where, you know, you almost don't even need to say anything. Now, in actuality, when you're breaching a room that you know has contacts in it, you're not going to say anything in real world. Unfortunately for us in ArmA, we can't tap someone's leg and let them know we're set. So we have no way other than verbal communication to be able to do that. So we have to rely on constantly communicating, making those call-outs in a Mout environment. That is number one priority. Alright, we stressed to you guys how important communication is. It is that much more important when you're in Mout. Because again, you don't have that same situational awareness, you don't have that same peripheral as what you do in real world. So you have to even more heavily rely on those verbal call-outs when you're in Mout, when you can't necessarily see the guy that's on the other side of the wall, or can't see the guy that's right behind you. You can't hear his breathing, you can't hear his boots on the concrete. You have to rely on those verbal call-outs. Alright, any questions?
Go for Sergeant.
Go for Sergeant.
Alright, Sergeant Myers, any last minute things to add?
Nothing from me first sergeant.
Alright, we're going to wrap it up here for today. Tomorrow, we're going to be back at it, same time for day 4. Alright, tomorrow is your guys' FTX. Make sure you are ready for not only the FTX, but also the quiz afterwards. Tomorrow is also the first FTX of the year. So provided you guys do well tomorrow and graduate, tomorrow night's going to be your first chance to actually take part in one of the large-scale FTXs. And I highly recommend you do so should you graduate. That's going to be it for today. You guys are dismissed. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday afternoon. Get the fuck out of here.
Thank you for
Thank you for
Sergeant.
Sergeant.
Thank you for Sergeant.
Alright, guys. That is going to be it for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I definitely appreciate you guys hanging out. Well, I guess that's not it for today. That's it for OSUT today. We'll be back at it this evening for the end of deployment games, and that'll be at 2000 Eastern or 8 p.m. Eastern. So hopefully you guys will be able to come back and hang out for that. That'll be nowhere near as serious as all the other shit we do. It's really just going to be a bunch of us hanging out, bullshit, and having a good time. So again, hopefully you can join me for that later on tonight, and I will see you all later.